Okay, thank you for attending, everybody. Just a few housekeeping rules to start off with. So all attendees will be on mute and will remain for the whole webinar. Please use the question box to ask any questions related to the topic, and all questions will be answered after the demo. If we run out of time or if the question requires a longer answer, then it will be answered offline directly afterwards. Please use a chat box for any questions related to the webinar. So for example, if you can't hear the audio or if the presenter is going too fast. And please note that a link to view the webinar recording will be sent out to all of the attendees after the demo. Okay, so this is the 13th in a series of our monthly webinars of key areas of NAV and Business Central to focus on. And you can sign up for as many as you like, and I'll show you a list of the upcoming webinars at the end of this session. We also send out regular emails to register as well. So my name's Karen. I'll be facilitating the demo today. I'm an account manager here at T-Vision. My background is 18 years of software account management experience working for ERP companies. Ian's going to be doing the demo, and he's a support consultant here at T-Vision. He's been working here for about 2.5 years and has been using NAV since 2000. So, my question to you first of all is, do you do your budgets outside of NAV? If so, how long does it take you to prepare them? If the answer is too long, then perhaps it's because of one or more of these common issues, which is multiple copies and formats of the budgets. Maybe there's an isolation of the departments, and so they're preparing their own versions. And there's a lack of version control, so you don't know which one is last year's versus this year's, or which version of the current year it is. It's also open to human error. So if you're doing anything typically in Excel, then that's going to be open to typing errors or maybe formula errors. And then somebody has to consolidate those budgets. So if different departments are doing the budgets, and somebody needs to put it into one to understand a whole overall business view. Okay. So if you use your NAV for budgets, then you can do them at department level. And you can do them at or cost center level, enabling each department to do their own and be consolidated. But also, really, this webinar is about the fact that a lot of people don't know that you can do the budgets in NAV. And therefore, there might not be a whole one version of the truth. So by doing it within NAV, you're doing it within one system. And therefore, it's all in the same format. And everybody can have access to the same information as well, and therefore it can also be at a consolidated level too. Okay, so whilst there are budgets for both sales and expenses, Ian is going to show you just expense because that's relevant to most customers. And in the demo, he'll show you the following areas. So what budgets look like, how to drill down on the detail using dimensions, how to import budgets using the copy budget and export import Excel methods, how to amend and add in the information, and also how to compare budget versus actuals using account schedules. So before the demo, I would just like to do a quick poll to see how and where you're currently doing your budget. So if you wouldn't mind just putting the answers in, and then I'll let you know the results. Okay, just going to wait just a couple more seconds while people are putting in their answers. Okay, so that's interesting. So the majority of people, 64%, they said that they currently do their budgets outside of NAV due to the complexity. So hopefully some of the areas that Ian's going to show you, even if you do have complex budgets, can be achieved within NAV. Okay, so I'll now hand over to Ian.
Hi, thanks, Karen. Hi, everyone. So you want to prepare your financial budget for the following year. And as Karen mentioned, that's usually a nightmare of Excel spreadsheets being emailed backwards and forwards and people putting in formulas that don't work, and then somebody in the finance department has to put this all together. And then you've got an Excel spreadsheet with your budget on, which is fantastic, but then you're recording what's actually happening in your business inside NAV. So at the end of every month, you want to compare against budget. Again, it's this big issue of getting the information out of NAV, putting in formulas to compare your actuals versus your budget. And it's really an administrative drain, and it takes a lot of time. So I want to show you how it works if you do it within NAV, and hopefully show you how quick and easy it can be. So for the purposes of this demo, I'm just using a standard Kronos database on a NAV 2018 installation. If you're using a different version of NAV, it will look slightly different, but the concepts remain exactly the same. So if we go and have a look for our budgets, we're just going to look at the GL budgets. And as we can see, there's already a 2018 budget on this system. If I want to see what's in the budget, I can simply double click. This opens up the budget. I'm looking at the 2018 budget. I've got my GL accounts down the side, my periods across the top. I'm viewing it by month. I can, if I want, view this at daily level. It's very unlikely that you prepare a budget at daily level, but you can. If you're weekly accounting, you can do it weekly, monthly, quarterly, just for the year, or you can use your accounting periods, whatever suits you. And you can choose to show your numbers rounded off or not to the nearest whole number, the nearest 1,000, depending how big your business is. If I just look at this budget, it's a boring, empty budget, and we're not interested in a budget that's already there. Let's start talking about creating a new budget for the 2019 year. To create a new budget, it's a really simple process. We just click on the new button. All we have to do is give our budget a name and a description. And then I can choose, do I want to go down into the detail by department, by project? I can add more detail if I want by adding other dimensions such as area, customer, purchaser, sales campaign. Or I can miss them out, and maybe I only want to budget at department level. So I could choose if I wanted to not to use all of these dimensions. But we've got our new budget. We finished with 2018, so I'm going to block it so no one makes any changes to that, and everybody can see that this is the live one. And I'll double click on that, and we'll have a look. Whoopsie, sorry. I'll double click on that, and we'll have a look at our budget, which is boring. It's empty. There's nothing in there. At the moment, I'm just looking at my income statement accounts. Down here at the bottom, we can look at balance sheet, or we can look at everything if we want. Normally, you would do your budgets on your income statement accounts, so I'll stick with that for the moment. And this is very simple. If I want to add in a budgeted amount for, let's find something, office supplies, for example, and I want to say that I'm going to spend £100 on office supplies in January, it's as easy as typing in 100. The system will start doing the calculations for the rows and the columns, and I can carry on February, March, April, May, and I can do this for all of my accounts. Now you can imagine this will be a pretty long-winded way of typing in a budget, so there are better ways of doing it. That £100 that we put in for January, I can drill down on that, and I can see that £100 has been budgeted for my admin department, because here at the bottom I'd selected only the admin department as my filter. I'm just going to delete this and get us back to an empty budget. So once again, we've got a bare empty budget, and a much more intelligent way of starting my budget might be to take last year's actuals and use them as the basis for next year's budget. And we've got this fantastic functionality within NAV, copy budget. If I click on that, it gives me some options. So where do I want to copy from? and I can copy either from my actuals in my general ledger entries, or I can copy an existing budget if I want to make a different version of a budget that currently exists. I'm going to copy 2018's actuals, so I'll leave this at GL entry. I'm only going to worry about my income statement accounts, so I'm putting a filter on to ignore my balance sheet accounts. And I'm going to choose the 2018 date range, so all the way from January to December 2018. So I'm copying from my actuals for my income statement accounts for the whole of 2018, and I'm going to copy this into my 2019 budget. I can then, if I want, choose an adjustment factor. If I just want to bring these numbers over as they are, I'll leave it at 1. If I wanted to say, let's assume it's going to go up by 10% this year, I would put in a factor of 1.1, so it will multiply all of those numbers by 1.1 to add 10%. Again, I can choose a rounding method, so I can round it off to the nearest whole number or to the nearest 100. Let's round it off to the nearest £10. And then a date change formula, so because I'm bringing 2018 and I want to put them into 2019, I'm going to say it's the current month plus 12 months. And I'm going to summarize that by month because I do monthly accounting. As soon as I've put in my options, I say OK, asks me if I'm sure, and it does the copy. Now I have last year's 2018's actuals with 10% added, rounded off to the nearest £10, and that is forming my budget for 2019. I'm going to take off this department filter at the bottom so that we can see everything. And we can see on these accounts exactly how much we would spend if we just did a straight 10% increase. Now, obviously, things are going to change this year. So my admin department, for instance, they might say that they're not doing postage this year. They've got everybody's email addresses, so they want to take out their postage section. So because I'm just doing this for the admin department, I can choose a dimension, whoopsie, and on postage I can see that they've planned to spend £60 to £70 a month on any one of these numbers. We can drill in, we could hit edit, and we can change these numbers, and we only anticipate we'll spend £20 in January, for example. That updates the number here, it updates all the totals. I can go down, I can do this for every month during the year. Again, that's a bit long-winded. There is a shortcut. I can look at the totals for the year. I can edit this list, and I can very quickly change all of those numbers. Updating this one, updated all of these. Now, perhaps for my admin department, where maybe it's the finance guys are doing this, they're happy to come in here and type in these numbers one by one. But perhaps my sales team, they're not so comfortable working in this format. They'd be much happier working in Excel, for example. So what we can do, let's put on a filter and just look at our sales department. Now we can see the numbers that sales would have if they just took last year's actuals, but they want to tweak these numbers a little bit. So I'm going to say let's export this to Excel. Once again, the system asks me for a couple of options. What start date do I want to use? So I'm going to start at the beginning of the year, and I'm going to carry on for 12 whole months. You don't have to do the whole year. You could do this in 3 months at a time if 12 months is too much work. I want to do this at department level, and I say OK. So Nav is going to go off. It's going to create for me an Excel spreadsheet which my sales team can use for their input. It's created the Excel spreadsheet. Let's just open that up. Let's scroll down to those 6,000 and above accounts, and they can start changing their numbers on an Excel spreadsheet format, so they can put in their anticipated sales for each month going through the year, their anticipated purchases. Let's come down to the one we were looking at, which was, I think, postage. They're also going to be very good with postage this year, and they're not going to spend anything on postage. And they can come in and they can tweak all these numbers to their heart's content. When they're finished, they simply save this worksheet somewhere where they'll be able to find it. I'll just overwrite my one that already exists. And then from within this main budgeting screen again, it's as simple as saying import from Excel. Again, I have some options. If I wish, I'm going to put this into the 2019 budget. I'm going to replace the entries that are currently there. And the text that's going to go with that import is going to say imported from Excel. You can overtype this and say, as per Ronald or whoever it was who gave you this information. We say OK. We open that spreadsheet. And in a few seconds, our budget has now been consolidated with the input from our sales team. And if we look at our postage line, we can see there is nothing there for the sales team. And if we even remove that filter, we can see how that's affected the entire company for all departments. And once again, any one of these numbers, we can drill down and we can see now we've got our admin, £20. What was there for the sales team has gone. We still have our production to put in their numbers. That is how quickly and easily you can export a budget, import the budget, and have that consolidated up to the top line level. That's pretty easy. And once you've got a budget process that's working pretty easy, you might want to take this to the next level. And you might come along and say halfway through the year, we want to revise this budget. What I would do in that situation, I'd actually create a new budget. I'd call it 2019B, say it's my revised budget. Okay. And I can go into my 2019B budget, which is a blank budget. This time, when I do my copy budget, instead of copying actuals from 2018, I can say I want to copy what already exists in my 2019 budget. I'm looking at 2019 entries, not 2018 anymore. And I do not need a formula to move those dates on by 1 year. I can take that out and I'll just leave those numbers exactly as they are. I say OK. Do I want to start the copy? Yes. Now it's copying my existing 2019 budget and it's putting it into my 2019B budget. And I now should have, if my mouse will start working. Oh, I have made a mistake somewhere. Let me just look at those parameters that I used. There's my mistake. I was supposed to copy it into 2019B. Haven't broken anything, don't worry. And we'll just give that a few seconds. Once again, it's copying across 2019 into 2019B. And I can see I now have a 2019B, which is a copy of 2019, and I can let my sales team, admin team, and production team update these numbers. Now I've got two budgets existing for the year, a 2019 and a 2019B. I would probably want to block my 2019 just to make sure that nobody else changes those numbers anymore. Sorry, edit the list, block 2019. So now anybody makes changes, they can only change 2019B. And this is fantastic. I've got the two budgets, they're on my system. And as I said, what happens at the end of every month when you need to do your reporting of actuals versus budget? Historically, you had all those downloads and Excel spreadsheets. We can now start using internal tools within NAV to do that kind of reporting for us. If you have Power BI or Jet Reports, you could use those as well, and they would be bringing the actuals and the budgets from within NAV. But let's go and have a look at the account schedules. There's a host of account schedules on this system. I'm going to go and look at trial balance. Let's have an overview. And by default, my trial balance just comes out bringing the balance. I can change that and say, let's see it net change versus budget. And I want to see it based on my 2019 budget. And we don't really have much in for these later months, but if I go to previous periods, I can see that I have, for January, my net change with nothing in the budget. Let's use that 2019B budget instead. And scroll down to some of these expense accounts in the 8,000 range. And I can see what I've actually spent in January 2019 versus what was budgeted with a variance and a variance percentage. This is how quickly I could get out an actual versus budget report against either of those two budgets that we've created. So what we went through very quickly was creating a new budget. It's a very simple process. Once you have a budget, you can manually start typing numbers in there, which is hard work, or you could copy either from an existing budget or from actuals in your system to create a base budget. You can then modify those numbers. You can export to Excel, modify the numbers in Excel, re-import them. And then once you have your budget and you've recorded your actuals, you can come to your account schedules, you can do a report of actual versus budget, or you could use your external reporting tools to report your actual versus budgets. Any questions, anybody?
Right, okay, we'll just take a couple of seconds to receive any questions. Please use the question box. But we do have one here already. So it says, when we update a budget, we would like to include actuals up to a point and then budget figures thereafter. How can this be done in NAV?
That is a really good question, and I've seen quite a few companies that do this. So let's go back to our budgets. So I'm just going to show you how to do this. So let's create a 2019 C, and this is just for the purposes of demo. If I go into that 2019 C budget, what I can do when I copy budget, I can say I want to bring in my actuals just for these accounts, and I just want to bring them in for January. I want to put them into the 2019 C budget. I don't want to round them off at all. And I'm very happy with the date formulas. I say, okay. Do I want to stop the copy? Yes. There wasn't much to copy. So it's just copied the actuals for January. As you can see, the rest of the budget is blank. But now I can do a copy budget again. This time I can copy from my existing budget, perhaps from my 2019B, just for those accounts. And I'm going to do this from the 1st of February to the 31st of December. I want to copy it into the 2019 C, and I'll bring those budget numbers through as they are. I say, okay, do I want to bring them across? And let's give it a few seconds. It's got to get to 9,000 and something. It's it's brought them across successfully, and let's just zip down to those 8,000 range where I know what the numbers do look like. So we have that very small number, which was the actual in January, and then we have the budgeted numbers that we brought across. So I've got now a new budget, which has a month of actuals and 11 months of budgets, which I can then let people start changing these numbers going forwards.
Okay, another one, can you have budgets for multiple companies?
Yep, each budget is per company. So on this system, I am logged into my Cronus UK limited company. So these budgets are for Cronus UK. If I had other companies that I could choose, I'm not sure if I do on this system, I could go into the other company and create new budgets for that company. So each budget is company specific.
Okay. Right. Okay. There's no more questions, so we'll just move on to the next slide. Okay. So we would like to leave you with the 5 key takeaways about budgets, which we'll hope will assist you. So you can have multiple budgets in NAV, perhaps one for each year or multiple, for example, base, revised, re-revised, or final. You can also have what-if budgets, which help very much with planning. You can start from scratch, or you can copy existing information and amend as required. And you can do budget versus actual analysis either in NAV using account schedules, in Jet, or Power BI. And also, finally, that you can use dimensions to drill down to any level of detail. Okay, so I hope you found this webinar interesting and informative. As mentioned previously, this is in the 13th of the series of webinars, and we'll be sending out emails to register for the next one, but we'll also put a reminder about the webinar in the newsletter as well. So once we close this session, a survey will appear. It would be great if you could respond with any feedback, but if you do have any further questions, please feel free to email me at marketing@tvision.co.uk. Thank you very much.